They're heading straight for the Crimson Pirate base. Wayne!
I'll see what I can do.
Fuck.
December's here, and I wanted to cover something for the season. Originally, I was gonna do Arkham Origins since it takes place on Christmas Eve, but every time I play that game, it reminds me why I never take it off my nah folder. Looking for games set in snowy environments, I went back to a title I haven't played in years, Lost Planet. I have two specific memories of Lost Planet. One, it has a really frustrating final boss fight that changes the gameplay from the typical on-foot and in-mech controls into Zone of the Enders, but worse. And two, when I played the multiplayer on Xbox Live, the Brazilians dominated the lobbies. I don't plan on touching the multiplayer this time, but after going through the campaign again, I vindicated my younger self when it comes to the final boss fight. But let's not get too far ahead. Lost Planet is a 2006 third-person shooter developed by Capcom. It's also a mech game that doesn't bill itself as a mech game. Like, the mechs show up in trailers, but they're not the focus of those trailers, if that makes sense, compared to Armored Core or Daemon X Machina trailers. In the far future, humanity's attempts at colonizing EDN3 are repeatedly dashed by the presence of Rykard, giant insects that dominate the landscape. Turns out that the Rykard store thermal energy in their bodies, which humans use as a power source for their machinery. Now the humans can fight off the Rykard with their vital suits, mobile armor that uses the power of thermal energy against the Rykard. You play as Wayne, a space pirate caught in the middle of the struggle. Your unit gets attacked by a colossal Rykard known as the Green Eye. Wayne ends up the lone survivor and collapses in the middle of a snowstorm inside his VS. Sometime later, a group of scavengers find Wayne's VS and revive him. Although Wayne may have lost his memory and his father to the Green Eye, his dad left him a souvenir in the form of a bionic arm that uses thermal energy to heal Wayne and pilot vital suits.
The thermal energy and your arm will be our little secret. It's complicated.
With the help of Yuri, Luca, and Rick, Wayne sets off to get revenge against the Green Eye. Lost Planet is the byproduct of a time when Capcom and other Japanese developers were hoping to cater to Western markets by making games that appeal to their tastes. If you have any doubts about that, then take a look at who's listed under executive producer. For this video, we're going to talk about Lost Planet's gameplay, get a little bit into the plot, and I'll draw comparisons to other mecha games I've already covered. Like I said earlier, Lost Planet is a third-person shooter as well as a mech game that doesn't bill itself as a mech game. You move and aim with the sticks, but you can also do a 45-degree pan to the left or right by pressing either shoulder button. I used to think this was a great control scheme for run-and-gun shooters, as you could shift your viewpoint almost as quickly as if you were using a mouse. But now that I've played through the game again, I don't really find these buttons that useful. You use the action button to interact with virtually everything. Picking up weapons, entering and exiting vital suits, activating relays, and whipping enemies with the butt of your gun. You can carry two guns at a time, and switch between them at the press of a button. You reload your gun by clicking in the right stick. You can use your grapple hook to scale up walls you otherwise couldn't climb, as well as rappel down from heights you couldn't otherwise reach. You can crouch by clicking in the left stick, and jumping while crouching will cause Wayne to do a dive roll. Right trigger fires your equipped gun, and left trigger throws out your equipped grenade. If you want to make more precise shots, press up or down on the D-pad to adjust your viewpoint. As a control scheme, it's not that hard to pick up. If you haven't played Halo in a while, it might take you some time to shake off the muscle memory when it comes to lobbing grenades with left trigger. When you approach a vital suit, you have a handful of options over what you can do with it. To simply use the suit, just approach it until the action button prompt appears. The first time you use any vital suit, you get a tutorial screen showing you all the actions you can perform with the current VS. Your vital suit's weapons also consume ammo, so when they run out, you might have to swap them with another VS weapon. Approach a side with the gun you want replaced until you get the action button prompt to appear, then swap out the guns. If you have two of the same type of gun, you can merge your ammo by picking up the one off the ground, but you can't just add it onto the VS frame. By the way, you can also use the VS guns yourself, but it takes up one of your weapon slots and slows down your pace. The most important thing to remember is that you can't do anything in Lost Planet without thermal energy. If you don't have any T energy, then you can't pilot a VS. You can get T energy by killing Rykard, but you get the biggest yield by activating relays. When you reach a relay, activate it by mashing the action button. Doing so will open up the relay and reward you with a sum of T energy. The other use for T energy is to heal your injuries if you take an especially bad hit. When you use a VS, your health meter gets increased, but it's actually a reflection of the vital suit's condition. Take enough damage, and you'll have to eject from the suit and lose whatever guns you had equipped on it, but you can still salvage the T energy it drops. Rykard come in all shapes and sizes, but they all share the same characteristic, and that's the red areas on their bodies that indicate where they store their T energy. And from a gameplay perspective, that's where the game wants you to shoot the enemies to deal serious damage. I have a love-hate relationship with Lost Planet's gameplay. It's a game that turns every action you take into a commitment. The very act of swapping out guns takes much longer than other shooters. This goes for everything: climbing with the grapple, changing out VS weaponry, standing up after a bad spill, regaining your balance in the wake of a giant Rykard's movements. The deliberateness of every action clashes with the arcade-like shooting. I've cleared tunnels full of soldiers gunning from my head like I'm Rambo, only to then get knocked off my feet from a stray rocket, and watch myself flip-flop onto the floor like a fish on a hook because the enemies kept wombo comboing me with their knockdown attacks. The most tedious thing about the game is swapping out guns for whichever VS you're piloting. It feels like the weapon swapping system in Vanquish, but with several more steps. It doesn't help that getting the right action button prompt to appear on screen can be finicky. If they made another game like this today, it could stand to benefit having multiple prompts, not the different face buttons. The campaign spans 11 missions, and each mission ends with a boss fight that's either a giant Rykard or a VS piloted by the evil corpo of the game, Nevek. The campaign starts off slow, with you facing more Rykard than Nevek personnel early on. Midway through the story, you end up fighting the Green Eye in your dad's old VS. After that plotline gets resolved, the story goes all in on fighting Nevek. You butt heads with the rival space pirate in a duel, but she comes back as an ally later in the story. You also meet up with a Nevek soldier who eventually turns to your side after finding out that the long-term goal of terraforming the planet would result in killing not only the Rykard, but all life on the planet. You also get a new rival who I swear is a progenitor for every boss in Metal Gear Rising and Vanquish.
That VS belongs to me.
I'm not finished! You're just like your father, talking down to me with that same damn holier-than-thou attitude. The VS belongs to you, huh? If you want it, come and get it!
For me, the game chugs along just fine until the final mission. You meet the true villain of the game and unlock the power of the Monado in your dad's VS. The final fight ends with both of you in a one-on-one duel in the air. What should be the coolest moment in the game turns out to be the most frustrating. Up until now, you've had enough time and training to fight in the VS. Throw all that shit out the window once you get to this fight. Because you're flying, you have to account for altitude. You can ascend or descend at the press of a button, but you'll keep ascending or descending unless you press a corresponding button again. And instead of using guns, you have to swing the laser swords on both of your hands by holding and releasing the triggers at the right moment. You don't get any training before this fight to learn how to control the VS. Also, even if you land a hit on the boss, you could mistime it and whiff while the enemy is in the middle of an attack animation. There's a rhythm you have to learn to keep the boss in a constant dizzy state. Only use horizontal swipe. Don't ever bother with a right trigger attack or any other button in this fight. You beat the boss, and your friends find a way to terraform the planet without glassing everyone on it. Oh, and you end up losing your memory again as a side effect of overusing your arm, so Luca treats you like Drew Barrymore in 50 First Dates. This is such a weird game. It's got all the elements of a dramatic sci-fi yarn, but there's not enough plot to go around for the cast. People come and go like a revolving door, and the game teases you with the thought that Yuri or his dad betrayed the space pirates to Nevek, but that turns out to be a fake out. So as a mech game, how does it stack up to the ones I've already played? It's actually pretty fun. Because the game doesn't expect you to be in the VS at all times, you end up finding several units scattered throughout the map. If you've ever played as Nero in Devil May Cry 5, it's kinda like fighting Devil Breakers all over the place. The fun part is learning all the nuances of each type of mech. Some transform into vehicles, and some are better at navigating in a vertical space than others. Eventually, I got tired of starting every mission with just a basic assault rifle. I think the game would have been more fun if you could opt to start with a VS or on foot and customize your VS as you progress. But I think Capcom shied away from that for fear of scaring away Western players. The downside to using vital suits is that there's no way to repair them, so you can't get attached to any unit in the game. But the disposable nature of the vital suits works in a way, because it turns the game into a 3D Metal Slug, and I think it plays a lot better than the actual 3D Metal Slug we got. By far the worst thing about mech combat is how vital suits are susceptible to stagger. If you've ever gotten your poise broken in Armored Core 6, it's nothing compared to getting stun locked in Lost Planet. As I played the game, I kept drawing parallels to other games. The villains in Lost Planet remind me of Zaitsev in Vanquish, partly because of the shit-eating grin on Bandero, and partly because Hammerhead over here uses a hologram to fake out Wayne. For some reason, I can't not compare Luca's outfit with Olivia's in God Hand. Maybe it's the fur trim, maybe it's the fact that she's showing cleavage in a sub-zero environment, and she's also wearing hot pants over her thermal leotard. When you fight Bandero, he's hooked up your dad's VS into some kind of tank platform, and it reminded me of the Cataphract boss in Armored Core 6, or the final boss fight in Metal Wolf Chaos. The final mission, taking place in an orbital elevator, reminded me of similar elevator-centric missions in AC6 and Metal Wolf. I can't make this one up. In the mission that takes place in a spot called the Volcano Dome, Walter White says this:
"You're Gale's boy." What a sad end! I wanted Gale to come around and understand my dream. Then together...
I think the craziest thing about Lost Planet, not just as a game, but as a series, is that it left no cultural impact in its wake. It's like the Horizon Zero Dawn of its time. That mech that's in Tatsunoko vs. Capcom is probably the last time anyone's ever thought of Lost Planet. Like, when you think of iconic Capcom characters, would your first thoughts go to Wayne or Luca? If anything, whenever I look back at Lost Planet, the first thing I think of are these coffee mugs that everyone drinks from in the game. The most big-brained, deep-cut Capcom could do for me right now is to market these cups in our store. Is Lost Planet worth playing? I don't know how to answer this. If you're looking for a fun third-person shooter or mecha game on Steam, Lost Planet would not be the top of either list. If you're looking for something arcadey, then yeah, pick it up during the winter sale. Just keep in mind what I said about the emphasis on committing to actions in the game. It sounds weird when I describe it, but if you tend to lose your cool instead of laughing your ass off when an enemy stun locks you in place, it might not be the game for you. By the way, I know this isn't from Lost Planet, but grabbing B-roll for this video reminded me of this gem.
I'll never lose to you, Michael!
Happy holidays and Happy New Year, everyone.